Welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and I travel full-time with my cat and my FJ Cruiser. Sometimes we take the travel trailer with us, other times all we've got is our overlanding setup. It's been a while, but I am finally back with videos. Last time we dropped off with me and Shadow getting to Tucson to pick up my packages and some parts for the RV. And then I got to the airport in Tucson to get my mom and my grandma as they were coming adventuring with me for the first time to experience RV living. What are you doing now that you have traffic? We started our RV adventures with Dustin coming to visit us. He met us at Tucson Mountain and we were able to share one camping spot. That meant that we had a ground tent, a rooftop tent, 2 trucks, and an RV. We were really quiet and friendly with everyone, and so the people did not have an issue. I actually told them that I had a second person coming in another vehicle while I was parking, and they were fine with that. So it was pretty cramped camping, but I think that it worked pretty well for us. My RV technically sleeps 3 people, but it comfortably sleeps 2 people. So it has a queen size bed for 2, and it also has a dinette that converts into a single bed. But for me, it just made more sense for me to sleep inside my rooftop tent at Tucson Mountain, especially since I've done this before. And so that gave my mom and my grandma some space. We had a lot to fit into this short trip, so we hit the road first thing in the morning. This is the drive through Texas Canyon, which is actually the most beautiful part, in my opinion, of driving from Arizona to New Mexico. It is a rest stop area, so you can park there no matter what you drive, but it's especially convenient if you have an RV or you are driving a truck. This rest stop also has bathrooms and vending machines, so we took advantage of that and then got back on the road where we started seeing dust devils, and that should have been a very clear sign to me of what I was getting into in New Mexico. When I went there in November, it was rainy and it was a completely different place. So when I got there, it was the first time that I was seeing something that just looked like this wasteland. And you can hear like the wind whistling. It was so hard, like it was throwing dust before I was able to go outside and film this. It knocked over my bike. It was a very difficult moment for me because like I bought this space and I wanted to share it with my family and Dustin, and it was kind of feeling like a disaster. Because of the heavy wind and the fact that it was throwing sand, Dustin was not able to tent camp there, so I suggested he go into Coronado National Forest, and there he was able to find a camping spot and we met up the following day. So my grandma has always said she is never going hiking with us, but I knew that there was this beautiful trail that she would like.
And every time I'm hiking, I'm always like, oh, dinner bells. What do you mean? Like, what? Pulse the bear to come and eat you.
That's what I would say.
Thankfully, my grandma did agree that it was a short enough hike and she felt comfortable in that space. She wasn't worried about bears despite Dustin's dinner bell joke, and she enjoyed it.
It's the desert. There's nothing soft here. Oh, Frankie, come here. Sit. I know you want to be in everybody's picture. You think, yes. Oh, yeah.
It's really hard not to fall in love with these mountain views, and honestly this was a huge part of why I decided to take the risk and purchase that lot. Obviously, like I said, it looked very different when I went back, and I never had wind or windstorms or sandstorms while I was there, but you know, like Dustin said, it's the desert, there's nothing soft here. I had never gone camping in Coronado National Forest before, so when Dustin told me he had found some great camping spots, I really wanted to go see them, so we decided to follow him to go check it out. Two of the things that really caught my attention was him saying he found a river and the next saying that he found a waterfall. I was very surprised despite the fact that this is obviously the forest.
The truck walk. Here we have the Nissan. Dun, 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 dun. And then here we have sexy Samson.
At this point, I was very proud of my grandma. Like, she was still comfortable being out in this space where in her mind there are bears and snakes, and she's not wrong. But you don't think about that too much when you're adventuring in the great outdoors, right? So we got to play in the stream a little bit. Again, I was very surprised. This is only 20 minutes away from the wasteland that I had bought. And this is a photo of the waterfall. It was great to go hiking and enjoy the view, but I also had work to do on the lot. The owners at the time were being very nice to me and allowed me to store some of my items in their storage shed. So these were the items that I took with me. My tent is very long, so unless I put the seat forward, it doesn't really fit. So my mom drove the truck to the storage shed, and I rode the bike behind her.
Not to me have a seatbelt. Oh, yeah, go for the seatbelt. Emergency brake. I have one camera up right there, so. Turn the parking sensor.
If you know my story, then you know that my mom and my dad actually drove with me when I left Georgia for the West with the RV, and that was my first trip in it. I was very grateful to have them with me. My mom did not drive on that trip. It was just me and my dad, and the main reason is she's not used to driving a truck. She drives a car, and second, I was towing my house. So we left that responsibility up to me and my dad. So it was really cool to have her behind the wheel and test Samson out in an area where I didn't have to be worried that we were going to cause any damage.
Yep.
No,
No,
long way. The other way.
Other way.
The other way.
I make a drive, Penny. Push it all the way underneath the tire now. Push it underneath. Good. You good underneath? Alright, I think we're good.
After New Mexico, we went back to Tucson Mountain in Arizona because it was the closest campground to the airport. And I wanted my mom's last night with us to be another campground experience, and she really liked it there. I also decided that I was going to let them help me set up the RV. As I've said 1,000 times before, this is like my least favorite part of RVing, especially with moving the RV if I have to do it multiple times. Like leveling the RV from left to right so that, you know, it's stable when you're inside, chocking the wheels. I don't always put my stabilizers down if I'm only going to be there for a night, which was the case here. But if you don't chock the wheels, there's a possibility that the RV could roll forward and fall off the blocks. And if that happens, it is very difficult to resolve that issue without having this huge jack. And if you remember, this actually happened to me in Colorado, and I will leave a link to that video somewhere so that you can find it and go see how I was able to resolve the issue, because I did not in fact have that jack. But I'm really happy that my family was able to like experience this part of RVing too, you know. Everybody talks about the views and, you know, the fun stuff, and I don't think that there is enough of a conversation, an ongoing conversation about the parts that kind of suck. Case in point, all these extra things that you have to do when you set up. Of course, if you have a motorhome instead of a trailer, then you may have like far fewer steps that you have to take to have your RV stable to start camping. That is not the option I chose, because my RV is actually like my stationary home, and if I want to keep moving frequently, then I can detach the truck and drive around with much better MPG. Involving my family in the setup process obviously meant that it took me more time, but it was an important part of the bonding experience, and it also helped them better understand the process and the things that I have to do when I'm on the road. When my parents came with me from Georgia, they didn't do any of this. I was the one who wanted to go on this big adventure, so I had to prove to them that I knew what I was doing. And so they didn't interfere, they didn't intervene, they did not help, they didn't do anything because it was my job. Of course, once the ladies had gotten all the work done and the sunset had rolled in and we had eaten, they decided that they were going to spend camping this way.
This is what you guys do when you're camping?
The following morning, I had to get up at some crazy hour, like 3 or 4 a.m. to take my mom to the airport. This is really hard for me because I'm not a morning person. To make matters worse, I had told my mom not to leave this early. And I don't mean at the time of the day, I mean that she was leaving the trip before my grandma did. So my mom booked her trip to be there for about 5 days, whereas my grandma was staying for about 10 or something like that. And she regretted it at this moment that she was leaving because now we were moving on to the next phase of our adventure and she wasn't going to be a part of that. Thankfully, that regret led my mom to book a 3-week trip, which we spent in New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and Puerto Penasco in Sonora, Mexico. And that was an amazing trip, and those are videos that we will get to, I promise. I know that I have been behind on videos. A lot of things happened. You may have seen my newsletter saying Google suspended my service, so I didn't have as much internet. I was sick for a couple of weeks. You may hear it in my voice now. So it's just a lot going on, but I promise I will get to those. Starting with this next video, which I've already started working on, where my grandma and I leave for Organ Pipe National Cactus, and where I also get to show her what the border looks like, even though we didn't cross because it was just too busy on that day. So that and more next time, and I will see you then. Bye.